Do you want to publish a book, but you're not quite sure where to start or what the whole journey involves? Publishing a book is a surprisingly long and complicated process, and there's lots involved, and a lot of authors struggle knowing what exactly is involved in it. It's not just writing up a book, sending it to edit, and then mysteriously it appears as a book. Until I started working in the publishing industry, I was also a little bit unsure about what exactly was involved in publishing a book, and now that I work in it, I've seen the whole process from start to finish, and it's opened my eyes up a little more, and now that I'm publishing my books, it's so much easier to see how to do that. So I thought, while I'm in one of my publishing journeys as an author, it might be cool to show people what exactly was involved in the publishing process as I go through it. My name is Sarah, and I'm a publishing coordinator at an Australian independent publisher. I'm also a new author. I've got a few books, and one of them's in the publishing process right now. So I thought, why not go through my journey and film it, and then you guys can follow the publishing journey and see exactly what's involved when it comes to publishing. And then when you are ready to publish your own, you'll know a little bit more about how to do it as well. The first thing, obviously, when it comes to publishing is finding a publisher that you're happy with. If you've written your book, done a little bit of self-editing, maybe you've done a bit of beta reading, or you've got other beta readers done it for you, then you've got a written script that you can send into someone. But who do you send it into? Before I started working at the independent publisher, this was also a question in my head. Trade publishing is still the most sought after form of publishing, and lots of authors, particularly fantasy and fiction authors, think they have to go through a trade publisher, go to an agent, send out a million different applications to get your book into their publishers, and then wait to hear back, receiving a list of rejection letters. It's really difficult. I thought once as well that I would have to do that, and actually now that I'm working in an independent publisher and an assisted independent publisher, you start to see more of how the indie side and the self-publishing side does it, and it's really eye-opening how much they've grown over the last few years and how much more accessible it is to publish your book. So on my journey to publishing, I thought video one's got to be how to find the right publisher. It's the first thing. You can't talk about a process to publishing a book without having a publisher, really. So although my book has gone through the editing process, and I'll talk about how that was for me, I thought, got to be talking about finding a publisher. Are you the sort of person who thinks that you've still got to go through a trade publisher? If that's what you want to do, then totally fine. It depends on how much time or independence you want to put into these things. It's such a big kick to have your manuscript accepted by a publisher, and I get that. I remember when I worked in the trade industry, you got stronger manuscripts through, and so those who accepted were those who had more promise, and I guess it feels really good as an author to have that affirmation that your manuscript was chosen. It must feel awesome. However, I don't think that's for everyone. The assisted independent publisher I work for believes that everyone has a story to tell, and everyone has the right to tell that story if they want to, and creativity is one of the biggest things to chase. If you've got a story that you want to tell, you want to do it in your own way, you want to have a little bit more control on your publishing process, then also take a look at the indie assisted publishing and self-publishing publishers near you. They're surprisingly edging up through the market now. They're not as difficult or unheard of as they used to be, and with the emergence of social media and being able to control your own websites, it's much easier to sell the books and market them yourself these days. There is a big difference between trade, indie, assisted indie, and self-publishing. So I really do suggest, if you want to publish a book, do some research on which one might suit you and your journey best, because each of those is different, and then within each of those they're different too, and you've really got to find the one that works for you. And I would also recommend, as much as possible, try to find one within your own country. Even better, maybe one locally to you, because then it's a little bit more relevant and maybe they'll have better opportunities to help, and communicating with them as well is going to be much easier if they're in the same time zone. And as well as that, find one that fits your vision. One thing that I love about the publisher that I'm going through, and it helps that I also work for them in a way, because I know what the team is like. I know that no matter what, as a team member and as an author, they've got my back as everything. You know, they do whatever they can to protect my creativity. I know the editorial team are going to do their absolute best to give their advice that will help push my book even further and my skills as an author. I know that they're going to challenge me each step of the way. They're going to make me edit well, they're going to make me market well, they're going to make me treat my sales well. And I love that they push me that way and they're with me the entire step of the way. And you might want to find that in your own publishing journey too. Or if you want a company that you can say, okay, here's my book, take it, then you'll need to find a book publisher that will do that for you too. Or if you need a publisher to hold your hand a little bit more throughout the whole process, you want to be really involved and need reassurance of what's going on, then find one that communicates well. These days, there's greater options, way greater options, and you're not limited to just one or two publishers. Back in the day, when you did have to go through trade, you would send out your manuscripts, and then whichever replied and accepted your manuscript, you'd probably have to go for. These days, it's not like that. With the emergence of self-publishing and independent publishing, you can kind of pick and choose those that fit you, fit your vision, fit what you want to do. And I really like that. So absolutely, on the first step of publishing, and that would be my advice to you, is I found a publisher that I'm really happy with. They are an assisted independent publisher, so I get my independence with it as well, and the book can be tailored to my vision at the same time as having the professional input, and it's like a team effort to create the book and bring it to life. That's really cool. You absolutely must do that. Find your own publishing company that fits you and your goals, and then that will help you bring your book to life in the way that fits you, be it not involved, completely involved, trade, self, all on your own, really cheap, maybe you can invest a bit more money into it. So many options, and absolutely, you really need to do that. It's the first step of publishing a book, and I wouldn't be anywhere near as comfortable with my journey without a good publisher behind me. So, step one of publishing journey, be picky about your publishers. Find someone who fits your vision and is happy to help you build that vision in writing your book. A book is a legacy. You've got to be really happy that whoever's publishing your book is behind you. And you've got to be really happy that they're going to create it as a really high quality product that you can look back on and feel really proud of. You're putting your time and effort into this. Choosing the right publisher really counts. And going forward, I'd love to talk to you and bring you on through my publishing journey too, so you can actually see what it's like. The publishing industry seems a little bit elusive and mysterious, and you don't know what happens until you're there. One of the biggest questions that I get from my authors as a publisher is what happens at any step of the way. They're not quite sure what happens in editing, or they're not quite sure what happens in formatting or marketing or sales. So I thought this journey and journal to publishing would be pretty useful for people, because they might get to see what it's like. I appreciate that it's different with every publisher and every publishing style, but it might give you a bit of a hand knowing roughly what to expect, and then you can ask your publisher what fits it specifically. So yeah, welcome to my publishing journey, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you the next steps. The next video will be editing, and that's actually really exciting. Either way, ta-ta for now, chat to you next time, and if you've got any questions, feel free to put them below, because my journey is being recorded just so you can have that extra bit of inside information on publishing.